Yo, what's poppin'? I'm doing my power rankings on. This is the week 8 power rankings. So above me are the power rankings that I did last week. I have full disclaimer: not watched all of the games. I only caught the first two APAC ones and the last two NA ones, really. And then the rest of this is just going to be from what I've seen from people saying, or highlights, or things like that. So it's not going to be the best power rankings, probably, but I still want to do them. So starting with the East region, we have at number 7, the Guangzhou Charge, unsurprisingly, they have continued to not be very good. Um, Full Krong gameplay, still, they're just not there. Something's wrong with this team. It's just not there. It just isn't there. Um, it's not allowed to say, but like compared to the rest of the APAC teams, all the APAC teams are like competitive. They can beat each other, except for this one. This one cannot. How do they beat anyone? I don't know. They had a good round when Develop popped off on Widowmaker. That's it. That's all. So we'll see what else they have. Coming in number 6 is the Philly Fusion, who has dropped dramatically after losing to both the LA Valiant in a reverse sweep and the Chengdu Hunters 3-1. Now they lose to both of those teams. Um, and yeah, they did perform well in their tournament. Right, this is right off their tournament. They came second, but they're right back to not being good in the regular season. Um, and you can see I rated them below Shanghai anyway. So like, well, Shanghai's still probably a better team overall. Um, so they do end up only dropping. Well, it is 3 spots, which is pretty significant. But you lose to 2 teams below you, which is going to drop you significantly, right? And with how small the margin of difference is between these teams, it's just gonna drop you. You're gonna plummet. This team has the star power to come back up. They played Roadhog for some reason. There was some Zarya gameplay. I'm not sure what that was, to be honest. If you just play your Ball Echo Tracer stuff, you're probably gonna win because you have one of the best rookies in Zest. Belos, all those 3, your DPS and your tank are good. I don't know. Some why I don't know. Like this team has the skill to go back up. I wouldn't be too worried, but there is a little concern. Coming in at number 5 is the Chengdu Hunters. So Chengdu, they beat the Fusion, and they beat. Or did they beat someone else? I don't even remember. Hold on. Yeah, the Chengdu Hunters, they beat the Fusion and they lose to Seoul. So honestly, they could go up. Maybe, but it's hard to say. It's very close. So I'm gonna have them there. Their match against Seoul is quite close, but Seoul definitely looked better. They did because they're Seoul, and this is a good meta for them. You see Gaga on the ball. Jinmu's had a great week. He played consistently well the entire week. Leave on the Sojourn or whatever he chooses to play. Sometimes a Tracer. It looks good. They have defaulted to like a Sombra thing at times. Not a huge fan of the Sombra ball. Um, and I still think Jinmu, even when he played well on the Genji, he's still not exactly what you want from your team. His hero pool is still an issue, right? It's not going to go away. It's also nice to see Monk on Zenyatta. I think Monk is a very good Zenyatta. Moving on. What is going on? Okay. Moving on to number 4 in APAC. We have the LA Valiant. So Valiant get the reverse sweep on Philly, and then they beat the Church. 3-1, I believe, is the number. Let me check. 3-1. Yeah, 3-1. So it's good. I do have them with Chengdu because I feel like they have much less weaknesses, like a much less clear weakness in Chengdu. Because Chengdu, you're gonna have, well, maybe they're not great on the ball. Like we did see them play Chengdu play Winston, right? We saw it. It was good whenever uh Seoul wasn't playing the Zenyatta, but you want them on the ball. You see Jinmu hero pull as a weakness. Valiant, what's their weakness though? What is their real weakness? Because they don't have any compositional weaknesses now that you have Marvel. Marvel can play pretty much anything you want. Molly plays exceptionally well. Molly, I cannot believe this guy was getting benched on the charge. I still don't believe it. Molly is playing very well, and the Valiant look good, and they have the strategies to back it up. And I don't know. The Shanghai Dragons are gonna be coming in third. So you get 3 0'd. by the Spark, and you get 3-0'd by Seoul. But it's not horrible, but it's better than like it was probably. Maybe. But that's not there. And I was thinking, oh, Shanghai, they're gonna get all their people in their building, they're gonna get their good internet back, it's gonna be okay. But it hasn't been. Shanghai slow to start this meta as well, and they lose to two good teams because of it. Um, there is a world where Shanghai don't make the midseason madness. There is a world where that happens, but they still have to play all the teams below them. All the teams that we see on the board, that's who they play. So I don't know. We'll see. Maybe the Valiant can beat them. Maybe Chengdu can beat them. Maybe Philly can beat them. Philly have beat them. Uh, we'll see. But this team, I never want to count them out because you have that star roster. They've won before. They know how to win. They just need to do it. They need to find a way to break through in this in Overwatch 2, really, because it feels like something's just not quite clicking in Overwatch 2 for this team. Moving on to the final two, I will just remove it at this point. We have the Spark and the Dynasty. No surprises, really. Just no surprises about these two teams. Spark play very well. They come up big against Shanghai. So the Seoul, they both come up big against Shanghai. Spark beat, I believe, Philly, and Seoul also beat Chengdu, right? It is Philly and Chengdu, right? I'm not crazy. Oh, it's Charge. Oh, they beat Charge. Oh, my bad. But yeah, that big win on Shanghai kind of puts them above them. Like it was a very like they played similar compositions, and Spark were just better, right? So it pretty much puts them above them. Yeah, they had a poor tournament, but it wasn't the end of the world. It wasn't like they were uncompetitive in that tournament. I don't think so. Yeah, Seoul were better than them. Yeah, Philly beat them. Okay, whatever, man. Like, it's not the end of the world. They didn't look too out of place. Yeah, they didn't look as strong as those three at the time in that specific tournament, but they weren't out of place. And their regular season continues to be crazy because they're having like a 7-1 record right now, which is bonkers. And Seoul ahead of them just off of being Seoul. They were better in the tournament. They were better this week. Beating Charge doesn't really help Spark. If you lose to Charge, it's really bad. If you beat them, good. You're supposed to. So, yeah. This is going to be my East region rankings. And I will move on to NA. Okay. So, NA. Coming in at number 13 is the New York Excelsior. New York continue to struggle. They lose to Paris. Ooh, that's not great. That was last week, right? This week, the struggle kind of continues, right? So they get 3-0'd by London, right? And they don't look great. They don't look good. I had priced in a Yaki Flora map. That just did not happen. They had some fight at times from Yaki Flora, but like there's just something not going together. They're on a Risa. Why do you want a Risa? What's going on there? What's the goal? Coming in at number 12 is the Paris Eternal. Paris looked pretty bad. Like, they did not look very improved at all. Moving up against Boston from last week, no improvement basically. And Boston aren't like a solid team. Like if you're trying to get out of the bottom, you have to beat Boston. That's like a minimum requirement. You'll see Boston is not very far up this power ranking. They are getting better, but they're not there. And I still don't think Dove. Yeah, Dove's playing well, but he's not. He's replacing Glister. This team cannot be better with Dove over Glister. They just aren't. It's not. It's just not how it works. Glister's a better player. Glister has won them fights solo-handedly, and the rest of the team. If the rest of the team around Glister gets better with Dove, who's to say that wasn't going to happen anyway? Like I don't. I'm no hate on Dove, obviously, and he's playing well. He is playing well, but Glister was that guy. And moving on to Vancouver Titans at number 11. Number 11, the Vancouver Titans. Vancouver actually has a very rough schedule in the second half. That's unfortunate because if they were reversed, then maybe they would have been able to make a run for midseason, which is, that's how it works. But it's not good enough to be good enough for one stage, right? It's a midseason madness and includes the first stage. So unlucky for them, but they have a close 3-0 against Dallas, and I forget who else they played. Sorry, take a look. They played at Atlanta, who also also look good. They had some. They forced some mistakes on Atlanta, and Atlanta didn't have their best game. Uh, so there is fight. Those are two very good teams, right? Two top four teams, almost undisputably. And they still lose. They only get one map win, but it's better than you would have expected, and it's better than what Paris and New York would have done, I think. So I'm gonna put them above Paris, New York right now, because you see these pieces coming together for the team. It's another rough week for them next week to play Shock, I believe. So probably rough there, but these teams, Vancouver does look like a team that's going to find some wins, and not just one win. I think they will get wins against teams above them in the future. Um, Coming in at number 10, we have the Washington Justice. So Washington will lose to Toronto, and that is not. They needed that win. That was an important win for them to get, and they didn't look good doing it. Kalios Doomfist was not the not. He's not the one. He's not the one. And it's just Washington. They have the star power. It's been said before by everyone. Everyone knows what the Washington Justice are about, and they know what they're about too, and that's being losers. That is losing. Maybe when you should be winning. Coming in at number 9, we have the Boston Uprising. So Boston find the win over Paris. I do not remember who else they played. My apologies for not remembering things, but I mean, like, a lot of games and didn't actually watch them. So, but yeah, they just beat Paris. So it's good that you beat Paris. You're not going to move up for beating the second worst team in your division or your region, rather. It's just not going to happen. They look good. I like them with Punk. I think Valentine and Victoria both had a very good match. And Crimzo especially. Crimzo really coming into his own, starting to be the identity of this team, I think. And you love to see it because he is very talented. He is talented on the Zenyatta, and this is a great meta for him. Also coming in, I believe, number 8 is the Toronto Defiance. So Toronto find their win over Washington, ditch their awful Winston Echo Sombra thing that they were running the week prior, and they come in and they play the Doomfist, and it looks good. And they play Finale on his best hero on the Tracer, and it looks good. And Hisu gets to pop off on the Sojourn, and it looks good. That's what you need from Toronto moving forward if they want to make it into the midseason madness. And if they continue, they could. There's good things looking for Toronto. Hey, there are good things in the future there. Toronto next week, just for my own, they play Gladiators in Paris. So hopefully you'll 1-1. I don't know about the 2-0. Maybe doubtful. Because the Gladiators are quite good, right? They're quite good. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they're good. But good things for Toronto moving forward. Hopefully, that first week was just some growing pains with the new coach, but we'll see. So number, what is it, 7? They mid? Yeah, it's the Florida Mayhem. Florida, they play, I believe it was Dallas and Shock. Yeah, that was Dallas and Shock. And they lose to Shock, right? They lose to Shock 3-1, and they lose to Dallas 3-0. But it wasn't like awful. It wasn't a blowout. There was some fight back, but there's something not quite right with this team right now, I think. Something that's holding them back a little bit. I think it's a lack of an identity. We had that identity last stage. They had the Surmajed. We're going to be super aggro with Surmajed. We're going to follow up. We're going to be those guys that go crazy, right? And their whole team was going good. But now you don't have that. You can't do that. It's not the same on the Zenyatta. So what's Florida Mayhem's identity? They don't really have one right now. Someone's switching characters a lot. He is switching far too actively, I think. I think hero swaps are good, but I think whenever you're making them this rapidly and you ruin your ult economy so consistently, it is a negative impact on your team. Xy's in over Hydron now sometimes. I think Hydron has been maybe their best player. We'll see if Xy, obviously we know he has that like MVP potential. He was that guy when he was on Paris and moving after in his career, but Hydron has been that guy for Florida. I am not Xy has the potential, but we'll see if he is better than Hydron right now. I haven't seen it, but I have belief he could be. But I don't know. I really have enjoyed Hydron this season. I think he has been like phenomenal. I think. Moving on to number 6, we have the Houston Outlaws. So Houston, they beat Vancouver. No, they lose to Gladiators. That's the only thing they do is they lose to Gladiators, right? They beat Vancouver the week before. Where are they? Houston, yeah, they just lost 3-0 to the Gladiators. So why have Houston moved above Florida despite losing 3-0 to the Gladiators? Well, Florida have lost to two other teams on there as well, above them. So you could look at it like that. But I just think Houston had a much closer match against the Gladiators than Florida did against either two teams. Yeah, they C9 two times in two final fights and two very winnable fights. Uh, Probably one of them you could argue they should have won. Like if they don't C9 that they win. Uh, it's hard to say, right? That what if, but Houston are like they look good. I like what they're doing, and that's just unlucky. Honestly, just unlucky. I do think they have played better than Florida, to be honest. I like a lot what they've been doing with Dante on the Doomfist. I think he's been adapting his playstyle very well for this meta as it's gone on. And their backline on double flex support is very good. It's probably stronger than Florida's. Uh, and you can't discount Pelican ever. Merritt's been phenomenal. I think Merritt's been great. Um, and I don't know. I think this team's been great. You cannot really ask for more, except not C9. Number 5 is going to go to London. They are remaining in their spot. Kind of a just a standard week for London. They end up beating. Oh, this is like super zoomed in. I didn't realize how zoomed in that was. My bad. But they end up beating New York, and that's it. It's just a 3 for New York. I'm not going to really move them. There's no reason to move them. Right? It's just they beat the bad team. If they lose, that team's really bad. If they win, who cares? It's a win. But I'm not gonna. They're there. I think they look great. Their rush looks good. They have the Poco looks good. No complaints for London, really. Number 4 is going to go to the Dallas Fuel, staying in their spot. Uh, Dallas have found themselves a bit from last week. Last week they looked lost. They looked really bad. I didn't move them down because one bad week's not enough to really move you down. I think even if you lose to Shock, it's a good team. Shock's a good team. There's no shame in losing to the San Francisco Shock, right? This week they beat Vancouver and Florida, right? Those are two solid teams, and they 3-0s. They go 6-0, and they play some Winston. They play some ball. It's there. It's good. They have an idea of how they want to play the meta, which is what you need, and it's just going to get better. That's how Dallas goes. That's just Dallas. They figure out the meta. They play it. That's them. I don't know if I'm going to move them up. Probably not, right? But I think that's a solid start. That's what you need moving forward for the Dallas Fuel. It's just Dallas. It's just Dallas. Number 3 gonna be Atlanta. No change there. Atlanta do look a little shaky against Vancouver. Dallas look a little. I mean, Vancouver look good against Dallas as well, right? But you do lose to Shock if you're Atlanta. That hurts. But Shock are looking really strong this stage, and Atlanta maybe kind of relying on Kai a lot, and if Kai gets shut down, what do? What's their game plan? I don't know, but Kai is so good. It's very hard to plan around that. Uh, I don't have a lot to say. I didn't see their games. I just know that Kai got shut down, and then they kind of like trolled on Vancouver a little bit. There were some mistakes. They were sloppy, whatever. I'm not going to move them below Dallas. Uh, but yeah, and then the final two, I'm actually very torn on this because on one hand, I would love to put Chalk above the Gladiators. On the other hand, how could I? Right? How could I? Yeah, Gladiators look a little shaky at times, but they have still been winning their matches and have been winning them good. Chalk look very good. They take down Kai, right? They take down Kai. You take down Florida. Atlanta take down Vancouver and then lose. Gladiators, on the other hand, they beat Houston 3-0. Yeah, there were some close matches there. And I'm very torn on which one to put ahead of each other. But I don't know if I can really discount the Gladiators. They haven't lost a match since they won the tournament. They've only dropped a map out of like 10. They went 9-1 this stage so far. Sure, they played against some bad teams. They played against the bottom 3. Paris, Vancouver, and Houston. Oh, it's Paris, Vancouver, and Houston, right? So you beat these two and this guy. I don't know. I'm not moving them down. I think Shock look really good. Mikey has been a fantastic addition. Kaluge looks great. Proper's popping off. They are leaning away from the Sojourn, which I think is very interesting and not what a lot of teams are doing. Um, but at the end of the day, I don't think I can discount the Gladiators' flexibility. Ryder's playing full time now. He's all you need. He's just going to get better on the Sigma stuff if they continue to play it as they go on. Their Doomfist looks great. I think it probably looks better than Shock's Doomfist. I don't know. Their backline is incredible. Not to say that Shock's backline isn't incredible, because it is, but Skew and Skewed are something different, and the way that Gladiators use their backline is a lot more. Well, I don't want to call it more intelligent because I don't know about that, but it is very powerful, and it's not something to overlook on this team. So I don't know. That's gonna be it for me. Let me know down below your thoughts. Uh, and yeah, so like this video if you like it, subscribe for more daily Overwatch League content, and have yourself a good one.